As neighbors, as residents, as stakeholders and activists, we have one view of this issue and issues like this, and there's a gentleman here tonight that may offer us another view, a man that has been a federal prosecutor. He's a radio talk show host, and he has walked with us on a couple of our walks through the neighborhoods. He has been to the neighborhood councils, and I'm glad and feel fortunate that he's with us tonight. And so if you'd please welcome Mr. Kevin James.
Alfredo, thank you. And thanks for inviting me here tonight. I do want to take just a very few minutes just to mention how I became involved in what has become a very important issue for you and your community. First of all, I'm delighted to see that the LAPD is recruiting so young. It's a perfect opportunity, and the older we get, the younger they seem to get. But this first came to my attention. Frankly, Stephen Boggs called me up. Well, it wasn't on the air, but it was in connection with my radio show. And he said, "Hey, Kevin, you need to know what's going on in this part of our city with what are being described as overheight fences." And he quickly described for me the reason and the necessity for the fences. And I have a prosecutorial background. I said, well, let's go into the neighborhood. Stephen suggested that I walk the street beat with you all, and I did. I think it was, if I looked at my calendar correctly, right around July, towards the end of July. Because I wanted to get a sense of what was being cited versus what was being ignored by the building and safety inspectors, or being ignored by those that were filing the complaints. And when I was able to see what was being cited versus what wasn't, what I perceived to be potentially a random nature of the entire practice was apparent to me. So the first thing I did, use the power of the microphone. We talked about it on our radio show to bring attention to it. Secondly, I picked up the phone and called the city attorney. I have a good relationship with the city attorney. I don't have any direct contact with anyone in the building and safety department per se, but I did get in touch with the city attorney, and he at that time, and this was, I would estimate, right around August, was aware of the issue because it was a growing concern in the community, and the work that you all were doing was making a difference. I spoke to a deputy in the city attorney's office who informed me about the possibility of what they call a fence district. And as we just heard from Alfredo, surprisingly, in a city the size of LA, the fact that we have the ability for a fence district and none has never been implemented is surprising to me. So I don't come to you tonight with a different perspective in the sense that that I'm going to present a different side to your issue. I happen to agree that this is a perfect example with the reasons that have been put forth by your community as to why you need these fences. This is a perfect example and a place for Los Angeles' first fence district. Now, I called a group called Public Counsel at the time. The reason I contacted people I knew at Public Counsel, I'm a lawyer, I know people are embarrassed to say that sometimes, but you really can use that to do good in the community. And I have friends that work at Public Counsel because as I was walking through the neighborhoods with some of you that are here tonight, and hearing some of the concerns and recognizing what I sense to be potentially a random nature on the part of the building and safety department, I thought that this might be something for a public interest group that has expertise in this area to champion. They are interested in protecting the good of your community. Now, I was informed by Public Counsel that their office didn't directly have the expertise, but there might be another one in town that does. And that's something that you might want to consider pursuing. It's something that I know elected officials will pay attention to. But there's something else that happened. We learned about the motion in City Council. You guys got action. in your city council office. And that's real progress. But I understand that one of the main reasons that we're here tonight is we haven't seen that progress come through to fruition yet. So let me just say that stay on course, stay on track. This city council office will listen to you, but they're going to hear you in a much louder tone when you approach them as a united group like you are now. And I will tell you that when I looked at the motion and I see some obvious concerns, their willingness to take what is a lien on some of your property and attach it to the property at the time of sale of the property, at the end of the day is not going to do much good now, is it? I recognize the need for a fence district. This should be a fence district. I also recognize the need for a moratorium. They've promised a moratorium. It should be put in writing so that it's enforceable. And number three, the waiver or the relief from the existing liens is something that has to be considered by the office across the board. Those are things that you all should demand as a community. I hope that you'll have an open ear in the existing council district, but if you don't, stay with it, because I guarantee you, as your community grows and as your numbers grow, and as you stay consistently on this issue, the media is going to start paying more attention than they already are. Your council office will start paying more attention than they already are, as will the mayor's office and the city attorney's office if that's what it takes. But know something else in closing. Oftentimes you will see, and I've seen it in this particular administration, you'll see some friction between the city attorney's office on the one hand and what they need from the council office on another hand. And sometimes members of the community get caught in the center. So stay on track, stay on message, continue building your numbers, and what you're doing tonight in your community, as Alfredo mentioned, is nothing slight of terrific. Thank you all, I do appreciate it. Again, I'm Kevin James. I got the hand, whatever that
Please,
okay.
You have such expertise. Thank you so much for being here. Now, you mentioned this group, Public Counsel.
Yes.
And their expertise may not be in this area, but there's another group that it may be in this area.
Hopefully, yes.
So, I have a couple questions. One, what would be our argument? What would be our issue of concern that would prompt legal recourse?
Let me tell you. Okay. Let me tell you what. And this is going back to July, John. What I saw that concerned me. I didn't get into any great detail with it tonight, but I'll answer the question. One of the things that concerned me as I was walking through a number of these neighborhoods, when it was described to me which homes were being cited and which ones weren't, the homes that had a more expensive fence compared to their neighbors that might have a less expensive fence, those were the ones that were being cited. That's what my recollection, John, wherever you are. And if the city is doing that, and I don't know that they are across the board, but if the city is doing that, that's what said to me that we might have some sort of selective enforcement here that might be actionable. If the city is going into your neighborhood and going to the homes that in this neighborhood look like they might be better able to afford the $4,000 fine or whatever obscene fine it is in this circumstance, well then that's something that's frankly what brought to mind the issue of public counsel or the issue of another legal aid foundation that might find something selective in the choice made by the building and safety department that might be actionable. And that's what I was thinking when I suggested that and when I made the call to public counsel.
And so perhaps uneven application of the law. 177 citations in one neighborhood, but a block over 0.
You put it better than I did, so there you go.
All right, and so if we wanted to contact public counsel, or can you give like me or Steven some contact information?
Absolutely, I will tell you.
We can take some action and start this ball rolling.
I did speak to public counsel, and I got word back from someone fairly high up in public counsel that this is not an area where they have expertise.
Right.
However, the reason I didn't go any farther is it was literally a matter of days when I got the notice from Stephen that you got the success out of the council office that you wanted, and so we put that on the side burner. But we can flame it up again.
Okay.
Okay?
That sounds good. Kevin, James, thank you so much.
You bet.